Okay, so this is it's a VR video response or reply to Tony from Blue Collar Backcountry. It's a video. It's about it's supposed to be a funny story that may have happened, camping or hiking, backpacking, whatever it is. Um, I can't really think of one off the top of my head, not funny one. But given that it's the end of October, it's the 29th. A couple more days till Halloween. I thought maybe I'd tell a bit of a spooky one. Um, let's see. So, okay. Well, hopefully it counts. But a couple years back, my buddy George and I, we went on a backpacking trip out here in the San Gabriel Mountains in Southern California to a place called Devil's Canyon. It's a pretty decent hike. It's like somewhere around the 5 mile range, like one way. So I'd say roughly like somewhere between 8 to 10. It really depends how far down you go, but it's a decent hike. We're talking about like about I think it's like almost 2,000 feet elevation gain and loss for the whole trip. So we went prepared for this one. I mean, we got there early. I think I have snippets. It's like the first video I ever uploaded. It's like 5 different parts, but we didn't really talk about it in the video because it was really just on my phone, and it was just catching different sections of the trail. But what happened on this trip was, and to top it off again, like I said, it's called Devil's Canyon. Um, so first of all, the first thing that was weird is when we were walking down. I think that I mentioned in one of the videos. We're walking down, and keep in mind it's early. We're still crisp. It's not like I was tired or anything like that, hung over from the day before. Nothing wrong with me that day. And we're just walking, and on a certain section of the trail, as I'm walking, literally, I literally got shoved. I mean, it's simple as that. I even felt like hands on my back just shoved me to where I almost went face first. And my pack was pretty heavy at that time. I used to carry, everything in probably the kitchen sink also back then. So we're talking about, 40 pounds plus worth of gear in my pack. And I got shoved. I mean, something. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like, I brushed up against a branch. I was in the middle of the trail. I wasn't walking downhill. Basically, something shoved me. So already that kind of spooked me a little bit. Um, Whatever the rest of the day goes on, nothing else really crazy happened. But when we got to the camp, basically the trail camp is, I would say like about maybe 20, 25 yards from a small creek that runs through there. And we had made our dinner. We were down there doing our dishes. And I mean, like I said, 20, 25 yards, and it was dead quiet. There's nobody else on this trail. And there's only one way in, one way out. It's a small canyon once you get to the bottom. And, we'd be able to see somebody coming. Um, Basically, we're sitting there doing our dishes. It's dusk. And, I mean, clear as somebody yelling your name from like 5 yards from me. I mean, that clear. I heard it the first time. I hear, hello, hello. And I'm thinking, oh, somebody probably stumbled upon our camp and is looking for us to see if we're down here. Sorry, airplanes passing. Well, I'm in my parents' backyard, by the way. I'm not exactly out on the trail, but I figured relaxing on the hammock was probably a good way to do this too. So I hear somebody go, hello, and George is down there with me. And he didn't hear it the first time, but the second time, he heard it as well. And so, he's thinking like, hey, somebody's over at by our camp. So he says he's going to go over there and check it out. Now, he gets up and he walks over to the camp, and I'm thinking he's not that far away. And he actually took a while because he was just going to go check and see what happened. Um, so he was taking a bit long, and then after I finished up the dishes, I'm like, so what's going on? So I yelled out to George. Now, my voice is pretty raspy. I can't yell that loud. So I even tried whistling. I yelled out to him, and I'm thinking, it was probably more than what was necessary because the person that we heard, it was, they didn't even sound like they were straining their voice that much. It was like hello, like, something like that. So I'm thinking he's got to hear me, and no response. And I'm yelling again, George, George, and I'm whistling, nothing. So finally, I'm like, oh, something's up. I'm gonna walk back over to the camp and see what's going on. So as I'm walking back up, keep in mind this is like about a 20-yard separation, and it's down like a little bit of a ridge. So it's just out of view. So I'm walking back to the camp, and I run into George halfway there, and he's like, "Hey, dude, like, why didn't you come? I was calling for you. I was whistling." And he can yell. He's got some pipes. So I was like, I I didn't hear you. I was yelling for you. I thought maybe you ran into somebody. And he was like, no, no, not at all. So at that point, we stop and think like, whoa, like what's going on? Because there's really, it's just the trail coming in and going out the other way. And anything else, they would have been right on the creek. But we would have seen that because we were on the creek. And the weird thing about that was that, um, I mean, like I said, the distance. I mean, I guess you had to be there to really understand the different. I guess like the perception there, like what it was, and where we were and everything. But yeah, I mean, whatever or whoever it was had to have been based on how far he was and how loud I was yelling, and he couldn't hear me. For us to be able to hear the voice that we heard as clear as we did, we're talking about they would have had to have been within 5 yards of us. But again, there was nothing there. And I mean, if you were there and you experienced that, I mean that was spooky because it wasn't like I think I heard a voice or something. I mean, we heard it clear as day. The second time we heard it, we both turned around at the same time, like, oh yeah, for sure we heard it. So um, there's a spooky one for Halloween, and there was a couple other things that went on that night, but that's the one that stands out the most because even when I think about it to this day, it sends a chill down your spine. I get goosebumps still, but hopefully a scary one qualifies as much as a funny one. It's just I was thinking in the spirit of Halloween. But yeah, so again, video response or reply to Tony over there at Blue Collar Backcountry. You guys should check him out. It's a great channel. Um, I mean, yeah, a lot of really great stuff, gear reviews and backpacking, hiking trips, and I hope to be somewhere along those lines, at least even close someday. So I still got a lot of content that I need to upload, but thanks for watching, whoever did watch, and I hope I win.